With that in mind, do you have any upset alerts for this week?
Well, facial hair is a fashion statement. Either having it or not having it. So I'll just leave that alone for right now. I do have it. I may end up with the same situation I ended up with last time.
What are you going to shave if you do?
Well, something we can't show on college game week. But that's another topic for another time. I like Rice. 98 points in their first two games, going to Vanderbilt. Rice over Vandy is my upset alert for this week.
I will back you up on that, and I will shave this big beard off if I'm wrong, instead of you doing it. All right, let's take a look at our spotlight games. We'll go through and make picks very quick. UNC at Rutgers to start off our picks. Thursday night primetime game. This is at Rutgers, and Rutgers coming off an emotional loss to Fresno State.
This game makes me want to throw up right now. Week 1 was terrible for both these teams. North Carolina beat McNeese State by a touchdown. Defense was absolutely atrocious. You look at Rutgers, the quarterback play of Mike Teal, 20 of 39 with 2 interceptions, just absolutely atrocious. I think both teams get better. I think these are 2 good football teams, but I like North Carolina over Rutgers in this game.
Likewise, I like what Butch Davis is doing there. There's just a hiccup in week 1, okay? They happen. Just ask Ohio State. Wisconsin at Fresno State, number 21 team in the country, Fresno State, coming off that win at Rutgers.
Well, I've been really back and forth on this one. Going to be a great football game, I believe, but I think that this may be the time where Pat Hill steps up and takes his team to that next level. I like Fresno State.
Wisconsin wins, Big Ten pride on the line, but I would not be surprised if Fresno State pulled this off. Would be a huge win for Pat Hill and the boys if they were able to do it. Kansas at South Florida, Friday night primetime game, top 25 matchup.
Wow, really good ball game. It's going to be a great game. I really like the way it goes. I like Todd Reese. I think that he's one of the most underrated players in college football. I like Kansas going down and upsetting South Florida, which rankings-wise is not an upset, but if you go all the way across the country and beat a team in their home stadium, it's an upset. I like Kansas.
This is a wake-up call for Kansas this week. They get hit in the mouth in South Florida. Down goes Kansas. This ain't basketball. All right, UGA at South Carolina. Historically, it's been a close series. What do we see this year?
Well, I pointed out earlier that I think Steve Spurrier may have a little something up his sleeve for the Bordeaux. But when you look at the absolute talent level that Georgia has on their team, I mean, it's ridiculous. No Sean Moreno, maybe barring Beanie Wells, is the best back in the nation. They're right there. But I think Georgia just on talent. I don't think they have a great game, but I think Georgia rolls over South Carolina in this game.
I think South Carolina maybe defensively, they look solid. You look at the Vanderbilt game, it's a little misleading because the way that South Carolina is going to hang in games is they've got to control the clock. You control the clock, you control the game. When South Carolina's defense is on the field for 3/4 of the game, they're going to give up some points. I look for Steve Spurrier to maybe try to establish a running game against Georgia. If he's successful, this thing could be a little closer than the experts think. I'm going to call Georgia to win the game, though. Arkansas heads to Texas for a big out-of-conference game, at least for Texas. Texas ranked number 8 in the country. What do we see happening?
Well, look at the scores from Arkansas's first 2 games. You've got a 28-24 victory and a 28-27 victory.
That's big time.
Over something called the Leathernecks of Western Illinois and Louisiana Monroe. The Warhol. Absolutely embarrassing for Bobby Petrino and the Razorbacks. Texas blows out Arkansas, embarrasses them, and makes that conference just look great. This is going to be embarrassing. Texas is going to kill the Hogs.
I got to agree. At least 3 touchdowns. And I look at Texas right now. If they shore up that secondary, they're a legitimate national title contender. I like what the Longhorns are doing right now. Georgia Tech heads to Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech has surprised everybody. Heading up to Boston. Well, except me because I picked it. Heading up to Boston College. They're already 1-0 in conference. A win at Virginia Tech would put them at 2-0 and in the driver's seat in that division. What do we see?
I've stuck with Virginia Tech for a long time. I like Frank Beamer. I think he's a great coach. They've been consistent for a number of years, but you're going to this game. Georgia Tech gaining momentum with 2 victories at the beginning of the year. Virginia Tech just Sean Glennon was booed as he went on the field after Tyrod Taylor was hurt Saturday. It's just an embarrassing situation for Virginia Tech. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Georgia Tech knocks off Virginia Tech in Lane Stadium. They've got to get the wheels back on there, Virginia Tech.
Booing college athletes is not really the thing to do. I don't care what the situation is. Nonetheless, give me the Rambling Wreck. I like them to go 2-0 in conference, and that puts them in the driver's seat in the Coastal Division. Watch out for North Carolina, though. let's shift our attention to the SEC in Starkville, Mississippi. The Cowbells will be out in force Saturday night. This is a national game on ESPN2 as the Auburn Tigers rank 9th in the country roll into Starkville. What do we see in this game?
Well, this was supposed to be a different year for Sylvester Crum and the Bulldogs. Then they get beat by Louisiana Tech 22-14 in the opening game. You can't do that. When you want to propel your team to the next level, you've got to do that. Auburn also not looked very impressive the first 2 weeks, but they have named a starting quarterback in Chris Todd. They have had some semblance of offense going in the last 2 games. Night game in the SEC on the road, tough game for Auburn, but I think Auburn prevails and knocks off Mississippi State.
You talk about the loss of Louisiana Tech. You can look at that one of 2 ways, and if you're a player at Mississippi State and you're Sylvester Crum, you have to choose the latter of the two I'm about to name. You either look at it as a deflating loss and your season going down the drain, or you look at this game against Auburn as that game against La Tech not mattering. This is the start of conference play, and if you're going to contend in the SEC, it has to start Saturday night. I like Mississippi State to upset Auburn. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think this game is way closer than the 10.5-point spread Vegas is instilled. I like Mississippi State to upset Auburn. Sylvester Crum, I'm sticking with you one more week. Let's head to BYU, Provo, Utah. Number 18 BYU Cougars welcoming UCLA off a big-time win for Rick Neuheisel and the Bruins in Week 1 over SEC Power in Tennessee. UCLA coming off a bye week. Has the euphoria lasted, or do they get upstaged by BYU?
Well, I think that when you look at that same situation, BYU maybe not quite as happy with their performance last week against Washington. But when I look at this game, I look at one fact: quarterback play. Kevin Kraft, young, unproven. Max Hall, veteran, very skilled athlete. I like BYU, very close game. I think the spread is 8 points. UCLA definitely will keep it closer than that, but I like BYU to win that game.
I think UCLA comes back to earth this week. I like what they're doing, but the program's not where it needs to be yet. It's on its way, Bruins fans. Give me BYU. Michigan and Notre Dame, we're talking about this game only because of the team names. Who do we like? Briefly.
Well, I refuse. I'm not going to talk about this game. What I'm going to look at, a game that I think will be much better than Michigan and Notre Dame. I think Michigan wins that terrible, embarrassing game. Central Michigan at Ohio. A big MAC team there. Central Michigan, I believe, knocks off Ohio. Going to be a better game than Michigan and Notre Dame. I would rather talk about a MAC game than Michigan and Notre Dame.
Whereas college football comes, because I can't even laugh at him. The man makes a legitimate point, however. Give me Michigan and give me Central Michigan. 2 for Michigan. All right. Spotlight game. Ohio State, ranked number 5 in the country, heads into Los Angeles, taking on the number 1 ranked Southern Cal Trojans. Ohio State barely escapes Ohio last week in the Horseshoe. A lot of people jumping on USC if they weren't already. The spread is inflated to 10.5 in favor of USC. What do we see?
Well, I think that when you look at that game, which, come on, that's funny. Let's be honest. That's terrible.
Dole loved it.
But I think that's an attention getter for any big boy college football program. It really is. The stat that I look at is the third down stat. Ohio completed 9 of 17 attempts on third down. You let USC do that, you're going to be in big trouble. Todd Beckman will have to play the game of his life right here. And really what's going to be the biggest thing to me is you get Beanie Wells back. And we've already talked about it on this program for 2 weeks now. Beanie Wells is an outstanding running back. So Ohio State may have a little bit more going for them this week than we're going to give them credit for.
Listen, Todd Beckman is a great quarterback. He ain't beating USC. Terrell Pryor, freshman or not, has to play in this game, in my opinion, for them to have a shot at beating USC. The one weakness, if there is any weakness on that USC defense, which boasts 11 future NFL players, is that they've had some trouble defending the spread offense and the mobile quarterback, see Vince Young in 2005. Who's up 5, right?
Well, Josh, we talk about picks. Are you going ahead and picking Terrell Pryor to be the starter in that game over Beckman, or does he just have to play? They're
going to get at least equal snaps. And if I'm Jim Tressel, I'm giving him the majority of the snaps. I'm going to live and die with a mobile quarterback. Todd Beckman is not going to beat USC. He may prove me wrong. If he does, I will dance naked around on this set next week. That is not a promise. I just think you got to have some mobility at the quarterback position. Otherwise, defensively, USC is way too strong defensively. They're going to stay at box. And they're going to slam it down USC's throat, or they're going to slam it down Ohio State's throat. They have 11 NFL prospects on defense.
I think that you also have a decent core of receivers for Ohio State. You've got Hartline, Robisky, and really the guy that's been making headlines this week is Ray Small. Returns a punt for a touchdown in that Ohio game, and says that USC is not quite as classy as Ohio State. questions the class at the university. So I think he could have either a dismal game or a big game. Could be a difference maker for Ohio State.
Nonetheless, it is the class of our schedule this year. This is probably the biggest game aside from the national title game this year. I got to pick USC.
Well, let's get to some stats really quick. So far, USC 555 total yards of offense, and that's not 2 games, Josh, it's 4.
Yeah.
To 187 yards for Virginia. Mark Sanchez, 338 yards in the air. C.J. Gable, Joe McKnight. I really think that Ohio State's going to make this close. I really do. But I think USC wins this ball game.
I gotta agree with you. Nonetheless, should be a very entertaining game Saturday night at 8 o'clock on ABC.
Girls are
Until
hip
then,
by
enjoy the
really
game.
big. Whoa, stop.